So I've been speaking of age, right? I reached a certain age. I won't say what it is, but I'm like I need to get working on my layout. And my old layout was called the Granite Peak Mining and Chemical Railway, and I think the new layout might be Granite Peak and Western. Lack of a better name here. So here's the old layout, Granite Peak Mining and Chemical. It was just a 4.5 by 4.5 foot HO circle. And I've kept all the buildings, so I still have this building, and it's got a place in the new layout.
You still have that engine?
Still got the engines, the rolling stock, all that stuff is there. Just the layout's just gone. But yeah. So here's the new layout. So the room is like 17 by 11. And let's see if we can get the cursor here. Over here is a window. And then the entry to the room is down here. And so it's going to be about 2 feet 4 inches wide all the way around, kind of like a shelf layout around the room. And then I'll have a drop down section on a piano hinge over here by the door. It won't really be anything put on there. Maybe if I take stuff on and off of there or something, won't really be that much scenery on that. But so maybe I'll have a smelter over here. Here's that mine and mill up in this corner, a bridge scene, a cliff scene, and then another like a 2-track bridge over here. Station up here. And then this building's on this stuff's on the modules right now. So there's the layout plan.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
so here is the view looking at that big yard. And so I've got these cupboards, and I'll put my workbench under there. And then the deal is on this talk here, I got all these boxes in there, and I'm gonna make a shelf and a lighting valance above the layout. And so here's the view where the window is. And then here's the view where the door is, kind of showing the drop down plan a little bit, sketch. See the shelving go all the way around. And here's the view, kind of like where the bridge and cliff scene will be. And then sort of a side view of where how the lighting is going to look. So and the bench work. So here's the top of the yard, and then here's like where the workbench could be. So there's enough room there. I think I'll make it 50-inch height where the track is. And then so here's the first thing I got to do is build this shelving, and I wanted to build this so that you didn't see any brackets that would come down into the view, which kind of presents a carpentry challenge. um, but the nice thing is I'll be able to put those boxes up here, and then put some LED tape lights up in here, and so look like that. And so here's a view, kind of a front view of one of these brackets here, which you'll see in a minute. And so it's kind of hard. It's kind of been a challenge to build. And so that's why it's a little bit of a topic, for this. And so here's kind of the lighting plan or the wiring plan for the LED lights and so on. We'll see how that turns out later. But so here's the room where my modules are, where my model railroad room is. Quite the disaster of things being stored in there. My daughter just moved out, so that freed up some space, and I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to wait for this to clear out, so I moved this all out into the living room.
And where are you sleeping now?
Yeah, right. You can pretty kind of Nancy's getting used to the idea that this stuff needs to be gone through, and we did go through a bunch of stuff. This is sort of the better side of the room with the window, and you can see the door there. I got a photo of from Andy Seiss here. That's one of Andy Seiss's photos. And so here's the door going into the room. You can see it, the door opens into the room, and that would just run into the, if we had the drop down thing up, the door would run into it and you couldn't get in or out of the room. So this has to be reversed. So here's, so I took off the trim on the inside of the room. And then the carpenter that built the addition, instead of screwing the door in, he finish nailed the door. It's a pre-hung door, and I wasn't sure I could do this. I couldn't find any screws, and the nails, I mean, it was tight against the 2x4s. And so what I did though, just got brave. I said, you know what, it's got to come out one way or the other. So I got my big persuader screwdriver and pried it and then put some shim in there, and then I could sawzall the nails out. So I got all the nails out, got it all, pounded them kind of in and flushed them out and turned the frame around. And then I went ahead and screwed them into the studs. So after I got it all leveled and straightened out and made sure everything fit, here it is. So it's hard to tell any difference, right? So now the door swings out. And I've since then I've put the trim back on. And so I was pretty nervous about doing that because I've never really messed with pre-hung doors or anything. So it turned out all right. So then I started working on the parts for the shelving, and I'm pre-painting everything. Here you can see the color that I'm gonna paint the sky with, and the color is called Blue Tango. And what I did was I kind of went on to Lowe's and looked at their colors and matched their the color codes to the sky that I took last summer at Bolum Pass. And so that color is around this blue color up here. And the plan is I'll go ahead and add white as I paint it, and I'll, you know, make it so you can see typically with the sky it's darker above and then lighter as you get closer to the horizon. If you've ever been up on Bolum Pass, it's pretty neat. You can see Lizard Head over here, the Wilsons. I forget what these are. You guys might know what those mountains are, but pretty neat place. So here's what I did was put these 1x2 cleats in, and you gotta like pre-drill the holes. And so to keep the dust falling off, I tape a box underneath to keep the dust from falling on things. Get it all leveled, marked out pretty well is level and or is because nothing's ever level in a home, right? And there's differences in heights and levelness. Just getting it as close as it can. And so I went ahead and went around this window frame. And that was a little bit of a challenge. I didn't drill into the window frame. I didn't want to make any holes into that. So for the future owner, they can just take it off. So at first, when I put the brackets up, this is kind of the idea here. Got a piece of wood that keeps, because all the force is going to be like on this screw up here, and then somewhat with these other ones. So the tension needs to be held here, and I didn't want the brackets to dig into the wall. Plus, I could extend the bracket out just a little bit by having a 1x4 along the edge of the drywall. Kind of gives it a pad or a more solid pad against the drywall to screw to. And I wasn't real confident at first, how everything would fit. So I would put it up on the wall and kept the clamp on there and kind of wiggle it around, and then mark the holes, and then pulled it down, drilled the holes, put it back up, drilled the holes into the wall, and then assembled it that way. So it's kind of got to hang everything. And normally with the shelf, right, you build the bracket and you just set things on there. A lot harder this way. The fascia is longer than 8 feet. And I really didn't want to buy any 12-foot. I probably should have 1x4s, but I just joined them this way with a plate to make it longer than 8 feet. And so you can see this how it looks here. So I pre-drilled these 2x4s. I also squared them off with a table saw. I pre-drilled these with the drill press so that the screws would go straight down, and they're like 3-inch screws that go down in here because these stringers are gonna, I guess if that's the right term, are gonna hold a lot of weight. So I wanted to make sure we got a good solid connection there. And again, I had to like clamp this thing and then mark the holes and then drill the holes in, pre-drill the holes for the screws so you don't have any splitting there. So you gotta set it up there, get it lined up real good, and then pull it off after you mark the holes, drill it, put it back on, set it up there, find the holes, and then you can screw it in. Not easy. So here's the screws that are on top. Here's the bracket all installed. There's brackets over here. After I did this, I realized, well, I probably should have just gone with 1x4s all the way around. But I kind of stuck with this. Seems to work all right. A little bit of a measurement challenge to take care of that window frame, and then this 2x4 here. You can see the height that I selected. It was land right above the trim on the door here, and you can't go really much lower anywhere. People are going to hit their head on the shelf. It's going to go all the way around with like.
Speak for yourself.
So here it is with the plywood on there, and then I went ahead and put up plywood underneath so it had something to rest on, because the plywood just runs up against here. It's pretty thin plywood. It kind of sags a little bit just for weight purposes, and it doesn't have to be super heavy duty or anything, but there's kind of the finished shelf that it looks like. So now I'm working on the other half of the room. That was kind of the test thing. If that worked, I'd continue on around the room. And you can see here, we got it cleaned out a little more, looking a little nicer like a train room now. Got the rest of the parts painted. Then I got smart. I was like, well, I'll use this shelf I got, the old shelf I built a long time ago. It's pretty square, and I would just pre-set things up with squares and clamps here and get things marked and drilled first. I'd still have to take these pieces above, and because you pre-drill these holes all the way through, but then I took this nail and marked the drywall above and then drilled those to get it installed. So I get everything pre-screwed, and then I'll put it up on the wall. It was a lot better this way. You kind of need this ratchet with the bit in there to get these screws that are in here screwed in because the drill driver won't really fit in there very well. So there you go. Here's how it looks now. Still got some work to do on that, but that's where I'm at right now. So there you go. All about building a upward supported lighting valance shelf system for your layout.
Looks really good.
Thank you.
Sure does.